So, Groovians, or the Groovians. Let's talk about it. So, the Groovians was a pilot. It's an early pilot on Adult Swim, one of the first three after Welcome to Eltingville, the infamous Saddle Rash, and this one. It was actually created by an artist who kind of does like pop art with animation and the Jetsons, called Kenny Scariff, I think. In a lot of ways, that could sound cool. Oh, an animated pilot from like an artist, from the art scene. That could be kind of a cool idea. If this might have been traditionally animated, I think it could have been much like another Ralph Bakshi thing, the first actual original piece of Nicktoons, another influential thing he did there, his Christmas special, which the animation might be cool to look at, but the story makes no goddamn sense. This could have been like one of those. Unfortunately, it's not even as good as that. It's very bad because they use computer animation. This thing has a crazy voice cast. It has a terrible script. It's mostly because the guy who made this is not from an animation background. And in some ways, when you hear someone who's like, oh, I'm not from the film world, or I'm not from this world, but I'm experimenting. A lot of people think that means something that's going to be so different, it'll be like, man, it's not on your wavelength. Other times, that means they make absolute bullshit. And Groovians is one of those. Now, Groovians is about two teenagers named Jet and Glindy who live on a planet named Jeepers. Okay. And they're like not creatively fulfilled there and are hampered by their dad, or Jeff's dad, who does a game show about his future, which is really stylized and weird. And then they hear about this planet called Groovenia from this guy, what was it? God, the plot of this fucking thing. Their friend Nixon, who tells them about Groovenia. They leave to go to Groovenia to be like creative and stuff. And then they get there and then they find out they have to pay a tax to, what's it, the Normals? The Normals, yeah. Anyway, this sounds like, an artist who left Kansas and moved to New York and is super salty about it still and talks about how the Midwest crushes creativity, and you're just sitting there like, yeah, dude, I get it. You don't like your family. It's just like we're talking about this for 3 hours and like you're drinking a lot of wine. It's a pretty awful plot and it's really stupid and the scripts don't make sense. But it has a crazy voice cast, most likely because this guy is probably fairly well respected and been in the New York art world and met a lot of people and was able to pull a lot of favors or sell them art or something. I have no clue how this guy got this. But here's the voice cast. Jet, the main guy, is voiced by Paul Reubens. Then his girlfriend Glindy is Drina De Niro, who is the daughter of Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro's father, by the way, was an actual artist, so I think she might actually know him from that. She does some acting. I might be filling a bunch of holes here, but that's just how I think she got into it. Nixon is actually voiced by Vincent Gallo. I don't know if any of you know who Vincent Gallo was, but people considered him a real person because he was in Buffalo 66 and I guess Brown Bunny and that whole thing, and the Glassjaw video. Anybody remember the Glassjaw video? And then they actually have his dad is played by Dennis Hopper, which is crazy that Dennis Hopper is in a cartoon. They have Debbie Mazar, RuPaul. So this actually did air on Adult Swim as a pilot. It then, like a year later or so, aired on Cartoon Network as a pilot. But it just reeks of something that everyone thought this could be a new and different idea, and it just is awful. There is one good part. The B-52s do the theme song, and I love the B-52s, and they're really great at the theme song. I thought they did a wonderful job, actually. But it is really bad. It's bad CG animation in the early 2000s. It wasn't ready for that. I don't actually think it fits Adult Swim. It's like sort of adult. There's like one part where someone has to put a key in a tree, and it's like weirdly sexual. But it's sort of like not mature enough for Adult Swim, but it's like almost like too inappropriate for Cartoon Network. It sounds like something that should be on the sci-fi adult animation block or something. It just doesn't sound like anything that like anyone would want, and it doesn't sound like this guy should be writing like plots and stuff. One funny thing when I was like looking this up, so when I was looking this up and I kept looking up stuff like that, and I was very confused. So the way like Wikipedia breaks up the writers on this, it says like, Jordan Rennick, Michael Ryan, and then it says Redman. And I went, wait, the rapper Redman wrote the plot help write the Groovians? No. Unfortunately, that would be great. I would love that. It's this guy Scott Redman instead, so that's unfortunate. But it was actually directed by someone who worked on Invader Zim. It had a lot of stuff on there, but this is like very painful because it's just like kind of like all these kind of weird art ideas, and you can kind of see something that could have been interesting if they had made like a traditionally animated thing. I think this would be interesting to watch, but the CG makes it so horribly ugly that it just is just absolutely unappealing. It is like someone like took like something that was like, oh, that could have been an interesting little short film pilot, and just crushed it to death. And then it's already written horribly that just falling in love with the character design and the weird animation just completely falls apart. So it's just so bad. I don't know why they even let this air. This seems like something like they should have done in production. Like, this is not good. I sort of like the Normal's bad guy design is alright, but that's as far as I'll go with it. This is a horribly cursed pilot. Like, I get why people really, this is like infamously bad because it's just like, it's boring to sit through. It's just like someone had enough connections to make an animated pilot, but not enough connections to make a good animated pilot, which is sort of interesting. He just like threw celebrity voices at it and stuff like that. I like that Dennis Hopper was strange enough to try to do this. I like the B-52 song. I see Ryan mentioning that. I really do like the B-52's theme. That was the best part about it. But this just reeks of just like a bunch of executives thinking they were going to remake the mold and just like falling so flat and leaving with this and like, well, we have to air it because we have it, and it's just so unwatchable. This is like made to live on, to be reviewed by people on YouTube. It is not made to be consumed. It is like really the plot of this is just somebody complaining that like, you know, art can't exist and this world crushes creativity. And it's just like someone's weird ego about their own creativity and not, you know, having the promise in like some Midwestern town or that they believed, and really it had nothing to do with, you know, moving to New York or anything. It just, you know, they didn't have the talent or the skills or the exposure, and they shouldn't necessarily think like just because they moved to that town that, you know, that's why suddenly they're amazing. So this is just like everything I hate about pretentious artists and awful early 2000s character design. It is like a vomit of CG and bad ideas, and you're just watching it looking horrified. But you get a cool B-52 song, you get Paul Rubens barely being Paul Rubens, you get a weird Dennis Hopper, and then you leave and you groove on out because the Groovians has now infected your soul. I do not get this Groovians thing, by the way.